Sabres win. They start the Florida trip off with a victory. Good Tuesday morning. It's above 20 degrees. It's nice here. Lindy Ruff is in Florida for the Florida trip, where, Lindy, it was 30 degrees earlier this week. How is it down there right now?
Feels like about 35 right now.
All right.
Warming up.
Do you feel,
not your typical Florida trip, I can tell you that.
I was going to say, do you feel like you're getting robbed of a good Florida trip if it's only 35?
Well, with the wind last night, I don't feel like I'm getting robbed. So
fair enough.
It can be as cold as it wants.
That's right, Lindy. There are wins and then there are wins. I feel like for a lot of Sabres fans watching that game, there's a lot about last night that's pretty impressive. Whether it's rallying from down 2-0 or the third period, the 5-on-3 kills. It just when you look at wins, do some feel better than others?
Yeah, we knew we were up against a real desperate team, where they're at in the standings and trying to climb. And with us losing a tough one to Montreal, letting one slip away in the third period, which we've been pretty good at. I thought we rallied to win it, fought back from a tough start where, it was a game, times we didn't manage the puck well enough, but I got to give Florida a lot of credit. They're one of the hardest teams when it comes to getting above you and creating puck battles. And I thought early on in the game, they won more puck battles than us. But as the game went on, I thought we got on the right side of the puck and created some great opportunities.
There was a moment, Lindy, where it was during the first period, maybe you guys hadn't really woken up yet, where you're getting into the team a little bit during the TV timeout. And I thought about some of the timeouts you had called recently, too. Do you feel like when you have to kind of give a little bit of a speech to the guys in the middle of a game that you have a group that is usually going to respond to that and does respond to that?
I do. I think we just need a little bit of a reset, a little bit of a tough start that I talked about. We just wanted to try to change one little scheme with how we were playing. So, didn't want to burn up the timeout, which wanted to save. So, those 4 timeouts that you have during a period, a lot of times after the people scraping the ice have gone by, you can grab your team for a good 15, 20 seconds. And really that's what I did. I just said, it starts with one. We've got to break the puck out better. I thought we started playing the game on a bigger piece of ice. Like we got caught a little bit too compact in our zone and allowed them to be on top of us. And once we started spreading the ice out a little bit better, it created the opportunities to break out a lot better for us.
Do you find, Lindy, like you're mentioning like a specific thing you're tweaking there, that the tactical change can be the thing that brings about the emotional change from players?
At times, sometimes it's we're talking about, where we might be just talking about willpower, about working harder, competing harder. Sometimes that speech is just all about, as a group, we got to be a lot harder. That was a little bit more tactical. The conversation I had with the group during the first period, and I thought from that point on, actually, we started to get a little bit better. I think you saw a couple plays where we created some space and we were able to move up ice. Like I said, they were sitting on top of us everywhere, and it was really tough to break the puck out. So we just changed a couple things around, and I thought it helped the group.
Yeah, how do you feel like your team often does against an opponent like that? I mean, Florida might be the extreme of it. Like they are. Every single shift, there are 3 guys that are hitting you, and they are super physical. But do you feel like your team responds well to opponents like that over time here?
I think it's something that we've gotten better at. I still think we can be better at it. And a lot of times it comes down to puck support. If you're being pressured and we don't have the puck support, they're going to beat us to the puck to the next place it goes. I thought early on in the game our puck support wasn't good enough. If you can beat the puck pressure, you can create the odd-numbered situation going up ice. You can get the entry into the zone. If we go away from the puck and not support it, the next play is usually theirs. And I think a team, sometimes looks for the bigger play instead of what I would call the harder play by by creating the foot races and coming to the puck, and it's a hard way to play. But when Florida's on top of their game, they're the best at it.
How did you feel about Payton Krebs' game last night? He gets the 3 points. I mean, Lindy, he's probably going to get his career high in points, maybe a little bit after the All-Star break, but he's certainly on pace for it. How have you felt about him season overall and then last night?
I really felt he's a guy that I can use anywhere. From sometimes taking key face-offs to penalty killing to moving up the lineup. I think when we go back to the 10-game winning streak, he was playing left wing the whole time with I think Thompson and Doan at the time. Last night I moved him up halfway through the period with Thompson and Tuck, and I thought he responded with a great game for us. Scored a heck of a goal. I thought to set up another goal. I think he mentioned this after the game. He didn't like his play on the first goal against. It was a puck we brought back. They pressured us in the neutral zone, and that's what I'm referring to is going north and coming to the puck. We brought it back. We didn't come to the puck, and we didn't go north, and it ended up in the back of our net. But Payton's game, I thought, from that point on, he was one of our best players.
Sabres head coach Lindy Ruff. Lindy, I don't know that we've ever talked about this part of it, but people ask a lot, what's the difference between last year and this year? And there might be a lot of things that are different. Do you feel like you actually have, as you put Hellenius in the press box, and guys are in and out of the lineup, you have the depth to do that, and not every team really has the depth to feel like they can make those changes when necessary and still field a lineup that is threatening, that is good. And it the number of players you've had out for injury early in the season, that might have been a problem, but it feels like you almost have a roster and then some to kind of work with here.
Yeah, it's a great question. I think that for me, when I look at where we got to this year and the understanding of how we need to play, I still go back to the last 18, 19 games of last year, where we worked really hard on the parts of the game I just described, managing the puck, coming to the puck, supporting the puck a lot better. And if you do that on a consistent basis, every piece knows where the other piece is going to be, and all it does is create speed in our game. If we don't come to the puck, we look like a slow team. I get analytics every night on how fast we skate and who the fastest skaters are, and I know on a night where we're off, our speeds inside the game are way down, and it usually comes down to how we're moving the puck. We have a lot of players out of the lineup. You can go through that the forward group with the 4 or 5 guys still out, from Danforth to Norris to Dunn to Greenway to, and on the back end we've got Timmins, who's just still trying to come back from his injury. Bryson just got back where he's available to play. But when you're locked in and the pieces all know where they're going and where they need to be, and like I said, I think that started last year for us. We're trusting how we need to play.
On that point, you mentioned some analytics here. One thing I wonder also, when it's a third period and it's 3-3, right? Like the Montreal game has this and the Florida game has this as well. I think there are numbers to support that around the NHL, once you hit a certain minute mark, teams are content, might be a strong word, but things tighten up because you go to overtime, you kind of lock in your point. And as you are in a playoff spot and teams need to catch you, like I found myself thinking that way against Florida last night. Of course, you'd love to win it in regulation. That's even better. But do you have a number, have a minute mark where it starts to become about getting to that, or do you notice that other teams do?
That's a great question. I think you can see it around the league for sure. Teams take a lot of risk out of their game. A lot of times defense aren't involved quite as much. You can use the outdoor game as an example of, you've got a huge lead and you end up giving up that lead and losing the game. There's been a lot of games that, including our Montreal game where we gave up the lead. Wasn't a big one, but we gave it up. And does it come down to maybe being a little bit of passive aggressive? with teams knowing that, we should have points in the bag here. I think a lot of nights you'll see that. You'll see, I would say it's probably the last 5-6 minutes where you see a lot of people back in the neutral zone and nobody really taking huge chances on trying to create offense.
And I wonder, like, if that, you notice that, does that feel like something that maybe you scout a team, you see they do that and think like, well, they're not going to come for us, so maybe we can step on the gas
but
here.
This team hasn't had the lead, Lindy, like down the stretch in seasons, but I wonder how much that could morph like late in the year if you're playing a team that is like got to get the regulation win. I'm sure that would change things too, right? Like if it's getting down nitty gritty end of the season and there are standings, implications.
Yeah. Well, I can tell you that it was a year in Dallas that I think we stood behind our net for the last 30 seconds because we were in a tied game.
Yeah.
We didn't move it out. That's probably my biggest example when you know that this point is going to clinch it for you. So it really is about being smart. That that every point for all these teams that are so tightly packed here is so important right now. 1 point can put you in a wild card. 1 point can move you up to the top 3 or could be top 2 soon. So points are valuable, and I think managing the game is a big deal.
I want to ask you one other thing, like, top 3, top 2. Last week, Alex Tuck said we're not playing to squeak in. We're playing for the cup. And, like, to hear him say that was, I don't know if jarring is the word, Lindy, but it almost felt like it gave fans license to also think, like, all right, what's the ceiling? And is that a conversation that is it unspoken? Are you guys talking about that, like dreaming big because things continue to go really well?
I think what Alex said is what every guy straps his skates on for at the start of camp is to play well and compete for the cup. I think when you put together a 10-game streak and a 5-game streak and you start bouncing back from your losses, and you look at the teams that you're around and who you're playing against and who you beat, and you're in playoff contention, you start thinking that if you get in the playoffs, there's anybody who gets into that party has a chance to win. And I think what he's talking about is building our game, keep building our game, because the ultimate goal is to try to win the Stanley Cup. If you can get in that group that's in the playoffs at the end, give yourself the best possible chance. And the players are believers.
Lindy Ruff with us. Lindy, injury updates at all? Maybe starting with Benson last night. Did he look like he tried to come back but wasn't able to?
He did. The initial report I can share is that we don't think it's too serious. But a lot of that will depend when he gets up this morning and how he feels. But it was encouraging that the initial seemed not to be something that we have to be too concerned about.
And then Josh Norris, Luukkonen would be probably the other two top of my Greenway too. But what about Norris and Luukkonen?
Norris progressing. I feel he's really close. I do not believe he'll play tonight. There's a chance he could play against Pittsburgh, and then I guess we weigh the risk in that with all that time off if it comes to that point. But we're hoping that he can get back in the lineup here. Greenway was seen with a doctor in another city yesterday for an opinion on what he's been dealing with, and we're just waiting to get the final analysis on that.
And UPL?
UPL, yeah. Last guy. He's doing better, but he won't make it back in the lineup before the break.
Is that something where, like, for the Olympics for him, that you guys are involved at all in whether he's healthy enough to go there, or is that up to him and Team Finland?
I believe it all comes down to his health.
Okay.
And that team has to know by a certain time. I think it's sometime this week, and he either makes it or he's replaced.
And last thing, Lindy, thanks for so much time this morning. I mean, Sabres fans are excited. The other big talking point Is the break coming good or bad? Does it feel one way or the other to you? Because, things have been going so well. I hear a lot of, I don't want this break to come, but you get an opportunity to get some players healthy. How about, just going through a lengthy break and trying to pick it up on the other side?
Yeah, I think there's an opportunity there to get some people back. When you look at, you probably have about 10 days before you get back at the real hard practices. But I think our guys are really focused. I've heard the talk about, training during the break, and, that's all mandated by them. And we've got a group that's, knows where they're at and knows that the break is something that we have to take real seriously and try to stay ahead of the curve when it comes to being ready to play.
Very good. Lindy, thanks. Good luck tonight in Tampa, and we'll talk to you probably after the break.
Okay. Thanks, guys.
All right. Sabres head coach Lindy Ruff. They play Tampa tonight. Good stuff. And analytics on their speed and all that. Learned a lot.